Good afternoon, winners. My name is Abraham Odare, the Zonal Coordinator of the School of Disciple for the state of Michigan. We have 4 centers now in the state of Michigan. So it is an opportunity for anyone that wants to be part of the School of Disciple to choose any center that is closest to them to attend this wonderful and highly educative program. School of Disciple is the initiative of our General Overseer, Pastor E.A. Adeboye, where he wants to use this medium to bring workers and ministers to know what it takes to be a disciple of Jesus Christ. It is a program that is very rich, that goes over the sacrifice that is required to become like Jesus. So the School of Disciple, like it is rightfully named, is a school. In Nigeria, it takes 10 years to complete this school. It is more than a church program. It is really a school to educate and to build workers and ministers, like I mentioned earlier, to become disciples of Jesus Christ. So it's a school in that sense. The School of Disciples take, in the North American region, it takes 10 months to complete. So if you remember, I mentioned that it takes 10 years in Nigeria, but because of the dynamics of this part of the world, we were given the grace by the General Overseer to have an accelerated program. So consider every month a year of what they do in Nigeria. So it takes 10 months altogether to finish the School of Disciple. In terms of duration, the duration of the program is 10 months, and we meet only once a month. Once a month for about 5 to 6 hours. Usually our classes start from 10 o'clock till around 2 or 3 o'clock, depending on our speed. But we don't meet every week. We meet only once a month. Yeah, thanks for asking. Please be aware that the School of Disciple, like every other school, has a cost associated with it, because there are materials that you will have to pay for. The books, there are 10 books that will be used for the program for each year, and each book costs $5. So that's $50 for the whole 10 months. And then the tuition for the school is $200, which you are allowed to break into $20 every class. But for you to be part of the School of Disciple, you have to register. And the registration fee is $20. You are expected to have a passport photograph affixed to your application form. So you complete an application form and you pay your $20 registration fee, and then you can begin the School of Disciple. Usually it is reserved for only workers and ministers of the Redeemed Christian Church of God. But for anyone that aspires to be a worker in the Redeemed Christian Church of God, we still accommodate them to join and to be part of the School of Disciple. Yes, of course. There's, like I said earlier, after every class, which is every year, there is an exam, multiple choice exam that ranges between 50 questions to between 40 and 50 questions after each class. And then after every 3 months, there is a written exam, which we call essay exam, that is going to be for after every 3 months. There are 3 of such exams to be taken. Yes, after the completion of the 10 months training, there is a certificate to be earned which will be issued on the graduation day, and the graduation occurs at the annual convention, RCCGNA convention in Dallas. So after the program, every graduates will go to Dallas, where they will be received, where they will be handed their certificates, and where the graduation ceremony will take place. Thank you. That's a very good question. There has been a lot of misconception about what the School of Disciples is. A lot of people say there's no need for me to attend because I'm not aspiring to be a pastor. I'm not aspiring to be a deacon in the church. But please note that this is just a misconception of, while the School of Disciple certificate is a prerequisite for being ordained as a deacon or as a pastor in the Redeemed Christian Church of God, primarily the intent and the intent of the School of Disciple is not only for ordination. It is meant to build people up, to build disciples for Jesus Christ. Because it is important that if you are going to follow a master, you want to understand the kind of leadership that person wields or has. So you want to understand how to be an effective follower, how to be an effective disciple of Jesus Christ. Those are the things that the School of Disciples talk about. So it talks about who you are, how God sees you as a worker in the vineyard, as a disciple of Jesus Christ. It talks about how the enemy sees you, who your enemies are. Usually we think our enemies is that person that did not greet you. No, the School of Disciples will explain to you who your enemies are, and after knowing who you are and knowing who your enemies are, then how do you handle them? It goes on to equip you, show you what the weapons of your warfare is, so that when you are confronted anywhere, anytime, you are prepared, you are ready, and you are built to weather any storm of life that may come your way as a disciple. As we all know, the life of Jesus Christ was a life of sacrifice, was not an easy life, but he was able to go through it because of the Spirit of God that was in him and that is still with us today. But you need to equip yourself as a disciple and as a child of God. So, having said all this, the 2017-2018 session of the School of Disciples will begin in July. So registration has begun. If you want to be part of the School of Disciples for this session, 2017 through 2018, where there will be graduation at the convention next year, please see me or see the church administrator to get a form, complete the form. If possible, start to put your fees ahead. I encourage you to be part of this School of Disciple, and you will not regret it. God will help you as you do so in Jesus' name. Thank you for listening.